And we're live recorded from the Pacific Northwest. It's Friday night, August 11th, 9:41 p.m. A little bit early in the evening for
Pacific
us.
time
Yeah, Pacific
for
Northwest.
us. Pacific, West Coast, United States, America.
This is Skull. I'm Jay. Skull is currently pulling up Marvel Strike Force.
This is mostly an MCU podcast. Republic Today, republictoday.net. Marvel Cinematic Universe.
We'll see about that.
Cinematic, is that a word that's regularly used in America today? So what do we got? 350 Americans? Something like that? 350 million people in America? Something
I
like
don't
that?
know.
It's something like that. So when you start to think about percentages, right? The 1% is 35,000 people. Is that 1%
I don't know.
of 350
Probably,
million?
right?
350,000. That's 1%, right? Of
Oh,
350 million.
So that's a lot.
Or, more than that. There's like huge cities worth of 1%ers in terms of wealth in America, let alone just rich people.
Yeah.
And then if you think of all the
But then,
1%ers around the world and how rich they are.
right, but 1% is just not that much. It sounds like it's a big population just because, of our perception of, numbers, maybe. But, it's not. It's not that much. Is that the point you're trying to make?
Well, what if you're being a capitalist and you're like, I want to sell something? Are there enough people who can afford my product? And if there's 350,000 are the richest people, like super, super mega rich, where it's like, yeah, they can afford my paintings or whatever. Um,
Right. It's true.
there's that many people, but how many people are competing for their money?
Right.
And it's not just the richest of people.
But they have, unlimited money.
And there's people who don't make very much money. Maybe people who make in America, let's say, $25 an hour.
Okay.
30 hours a week.
Okay.
Because people are getting 40 in overtime and stuff. I don't know. I'm making up what's a typical thing because
Yeah, I don't know.
hundreds of thousands of people
make. Some places get 7.25 an hour.
Right, and lots of people make minimum wage. So is
Yeah.
that closer to the typical wage?
I don't know.
25 seems like a lot. Say $20 an hour, 30 hours a week. Those are the kinds of people that might be buying fast food. Jay and I have been talking about starting a business, like a virtual restaurant. We're gonna do the whole crowd rise, whatever online fundraising stuff. We haven't really talked much about that, but it's part of the plan. And yeah, so but kind of vegan fast food, something virtual, so
There has to be a version.
it's not just the richest people that are trying to buy that.
Right. No, right. I understand that. Right. We're not doing fine vegan dining. 5-course meals.
My
for
new manager mentioned fine dining
$100.
today. He's like, yeah, I'm bringing this guy is closer to this. I'm like, man, I'm into volume dining, y'all. If I'm a server, I don't care. I don't need to do a bunch of extra stuff, cause I spend time at Well 80 and swing. Oh,
You didn't hear that.
but doing that volume, you make a lot more money. Having a big old warehouse style thing where there's a bunch of people in there that are ordering stuff, that's where the dough is.
Right. So,
At
but
least for gratuities.
right, but if we're talking about online and delivery, what does that mean for us? We have to charge enough to make it worth our while, monetary wise.
Well, you have a bigger market if there's a third party that's delivering, and
Right, and
those are
then
the
who
amount of
gets
people who
tipped?
want to do that. So maybe you don't, you know, we're just
Maybe we
making the
don't get
profit
tipped.
margin off the food
Right.
and just making that. That's why it's a side hustle, y'all.
Food
We're
for
learning about
thought.
side hustles. Yeah, food for thought.
Yeah. So, yeah, speaking of food, I did prep at my job today, and the walk in kept blowing the breaker. So it kept flipping the breaker, and I saw it the first time. I was like, huh, strange. Like this. So there's like a little outside temperature gauge and light switch, and the temperature gauge was out. So I was like, that's weird. And I went in and nothing was blowing. And so I like went and checked the breaker box, and it had been flipped, and the little view thing was red. So I was like, okay, well, I'm going to turn this and then turn it back on. And it was fine for like a few minutes, and I was like back doing my prep work, and I saw like a quick flicker, and I was like, huh, I'm gonna go check on the temperature gauge again. Off. Completely off. So I was like, okay, well, I'll flip it back on again. Maybe something's weird. And as soon as I flipped it, it turned back off again. So I was like, okay. And I messaged the owners of the business, and they're like, okay, be right there. And like more than half an hour passed, and they finally came over, and I was like, it's been off for more than half an hour. Haha. um anyway, but I kept like periodically turning it back on, and it would always like flicker the lights and then shut off, sometimes immediately. But yeah, I don't know. Do I get to go to work tomorrow? I don't know. Do I have a day off? Anyway, so that's like part of the service industry. Like, it just kind of segueing that back into like owning a business and running a business. Like, what expenses are attached to that? Can we can we survive the big expenses? They recently had a plumbing issue. They recently had, well, they still haven't replaced the fan, for the hood fan for over the ovens, and supposedly the part itself cost $1,200. Like, can we like float through like big events like this?
I come back to the real estate project element when you bring these things up of, is this equipment owned or rented? Is the rental agreement where, especially on a Friday or Saturday night, someone's gonna be there like within an hour, and like fix it because that's the rental agreement,
Right,
especially on that kind of thing. So,
right.
um,
Somehow we got a thumbs up on this recording.
okay. um,
Is it gonna detect it?
well, sorry to you audio listeners. There's some visual things happening with thumbs
Here we
ups.
go. Got it. Got it.
I thought,
Nailed it. Anyway, so yeah, I don't know. I'm just like, I understand where you're coming from as renting versus owning. Um, but even if we own and we have like, yeah, full control and decision making over what we're doing, like, can we afford it?
it costs money to do that. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Yes.
It does.
Because even as a renter, can they afford it? Yeah, they don't
Right.
own the building, but like they're still, can they afford it? Can we afford it? So I don't know. Again, food for thought. Um, and I think if we're like planning properly And like Skull here has mentioned before about being able to get like a business loan or a grant, etc., and like being able to like allot things into like, you know, the budget. Like one of those things is for emergencies, I would hope. As an accountant, we should allot money for emergencies.
Right.
Um, anyway, yeah, there's this little shimmery shiny right here. It's hard to see, but this is definitely a knife with a little blood droplet at the end. And these are my chef's earrings. I don't think so. That's not part of my work title as a chef, but I don't know. I want to be called a chef. Skull and I have been. Well, I think I've called Skull a chef more times than I've been called a chef when we're working in
Oh,
the
really?
kitchen.
Okay. I
Um,
feel like I've given you authority at least
but
as much
you've given me
more.
authority as KM, but not as chef.
Oh yeah, KM. But then I'm working under you as like prep cook.
Right, but I don't know. It's okay. I'm not upset. I'm not upset!
All right, KM. Well, right, K. Chef. Yeah. Well.
And we both have so some I feel like we're pretty even in like our cooking successes and in our cooking failures. Honestly, I think
In
I
terms of
have
home cooking,
I yes, in terms of
okay.
home cooking.
I mean, I wasn't great on the grill at Applebee's restaurant.
Oh, really?
Well, it was just I had little experience. It's like, hey, you're gonna be like you need to work on this as you are a manager at the restaurant and doing other things too. When it's your
Right.
turn to help in the
You
kitchen,
mentioned that.
specifically like work on, and I need to work on the whole thing, work on all the stations, the middle station with the flat top grill, where you're also assembling sandwiches, and like putting together. Depending on, there were minor differences between different Applebee's, but like the salads or the bowls, like who put those together, um,
Okay.
mid. I don't know. Like fry, I think has too much to do. I would like to have that on mid.
Okay.
But if you have these
Yeah,
strong
I don't know
fry
these
workers,
structures. Yeah.
there's like fry, mid, and grill for you listeners out there, um, and like cook it on the line.
Yeah.
Fry would do salads and desserts, and so sometimes there would be a bunch of salads. There was like a lot to do. You were storing stuff in bowls all the time because fry was wings in bowls. Shake it up like this, Cambro top.
Okay. And that was for like breading, battering things
No
fresh.
saucing,
Oh, that
saucing
was
after they're
sauce.
fried.
In a Cambro, huh?
Yeah.
Is it just because of like pure volume, or because like at my job they just use like these tiny little mixing bowls to do saucing, and they like will mix it up with like tongs or just shake it around
Yeah.
with extra sauce.
Yeah. I guess with the top, you can kind of just shake them up
Yeah,
hard
that's
or
interesting.
get them sauced. And you have one for each sauce
Yeah, that's
on
what
like
they
a
do with the
rack.
bowls. Yeah, right.
Well, this is boring for listeners, I think. I don't know. I could be
Oh,
wrong.
sorry to get into the nitty gritty of
It's good though. Yeah.
back end kitchen food service stuff, but this is our passion, um, and we're gonna pursue it on like a serious level for ourselves and for like the community who's like looking for vegan food in different formats and stuff like that. So um, yeah, I don't know. If you want to support us, you know, keep watching, keep commenting, keep liking, and maybe one of these days we'll post our webpage. And if you're like in the area in the Pacific Northwest, like give us a little order through our web app or If you're here for like an extended period of time, we have an idea for like a meal plan for the week. Um, and yeah, I don't know. I don't know. We'll keep in touch on that, but we've got some storms in our brains, and we're trying to make them real. Um, Skull didn't like that. I said storms in our brains.
I did. I liked it. It's a metaphor.
Yeah. So anyway, in other news, are there any basketball updates?
Where are we in the World Cup? I don't even know the dates. I don't have them
World Cup
memorized.
has not begun yet.
Yeah.
Let me just give the viewers and listeners a little update by looking up the sketch.
Well, and also let me throw in. I think we've maybe alluded to this in other conversations, but um, sort of like street basketball, maybe even driveway, like that kind of thing, is or recreation center. The
Yes.
YMCA being an example of a recreation center. I think maybe a gym. I don't think I've ever done it at just like a private. I mean, the YMCA is private, but it's kind of nonprofit-y ish as like a community
Right.
center.
Yeah, right.
Whereas Planet Fitness is like, we're here for the money. Like, we're making money here.
Well, Planet Fitness does volume money, so kind of like how you were
That's what
talking
I'm
about
talking about.
volume restaurant, they do volume money because Planet Fitness is like, oh yeah, we charge like $10 to $20 per person. The $20 tier gets to bring a free guest, but it's like such a nominal amount of money that like if people are like end up not going, they just let it slide, and they're like their card's getting charged and they're not showing up, but like they're just like whatever, like $20 a month, like whatever, I blow that on whatever. And so like as opposed to the YMCA, as far as I know, like last time I checked, it's like over $100 a month
Right,
for
right,
one person and like
right,
no guests.
right,
So
right.
I don't. Okay,
It's nice
I'll
though
back it
too.
up though too because like I think that they offer like a sliding scale for like poor folk or whatever certain circumstances, and yeah, so that makes it a little bit more accessible, and I think that's where like maybe the nonprofit aspect comes in, um, or just like what makes it a nonprofit? Just it's like organization status, 501(c)(3), and then also they have to follow like a
Do
mission
they have
and
that? I don't even
vision.
know.
I
Maybe they
think
don't. Maybe there's like,
for a
we're Christian.
nonprofit,
Well, they're Christian, right?
oh,
It's the
well
Young
that would
Men's
be.
Christian, whatever.
I don't think that they're like registered as a religious affiliated.
The YMCA brand?
I don't think so.
Okay. Well, but they do, I mean, it does seem like a wholesome place. Like, everyone's gonna keep it nice and wholesome
Oh,
there.
because it's family oriented.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
don't think that that necessarily has to do with their religious affiliation. If
Planet
because
Fitness
I've
is not
never.
not wholesome. There's just not kids around, I guess.
That's
You're not
good.
interacting with children.
Yeah.
But it's also, yeah, it's not like inappropriate. Right. I want those out of, is that, are we getting one from capitalism and one from socialism, or is it like those are
Right.
both
Okay.
capitalist
Yeah.
enterprises, the YMCA and Planet Fitness.
Huh.
They both
Interesting.
are, and they both maintain like appropriate environments.
Yeah.
Um,
Right. Right. Like I like the no clunking or whatever the fuck they call it at Planet Fitness. Like um, no grunting, like stuff like that. Um, I mean, obviously, I don't work out, and like maybe those are like regular things for working out. I don't know, but I think that those seem like a little bit extreme and like fucking weird. Um, like displays of whatever, like machismo or whatever.
yeah.
Um,
There was one time at the YMCA that I was going to pretty regularly in Penfield, New York, which is like Rochester, outside of Rochester.
okay.
And This guy was being like aggressive, like making noises with machines, or workout machines, and he was like taking up a few at a time.
Oh, uh-huh.
Um, and he was like kind of like singing along like with his music, kind of loud. Um, and just like, yeah, just being like a big personality and like aggressive.
Yeah. Interesting.
But that was like, I don't know, not a regular thing. So
Yeah. Like he got kicked out.
sometimes at the Planet Fitness when I was going regularly, there would be some clanking of machines. Um,
Right, but nothing like you're dropping them like on
no, it's like
purpose.
you're going clink, clink, clink. Yeah,
Like during your reps or whatever.
yeah,
Yeah, sometimes that happens when you're not adjusting like the range of motion,
right.
because you can adjust the machines, but some people just don't know how to do that, or like don't understand the function of doing that. Maybe I'm not sure,
Right.
but anyway, yeah. Do you have any other updates?
I guess I was thinking about basketball being sort of in its purest form,
Oh
sort of in
yeah,
these most casual. Um, well, that's the battery's low, so
yeah.
for those of you
Keep
watching,
going.
um, but in the most casual circumstances where, you know, either you have to call your own fouls if you're playing with like strangers, the onus is on the shooter essentially, and you're not really calling fouls otherwise. But also, there's just an agreement that you're here to play basketball and not football or something, hockey, um, boxing, MMA. So you can set screens in basketball, but you're not hitting people. And so there's a common understanding that about playing the game, even so it could be total strangers.
Right. Well, yeah, yeah. You're like honoring the rules, like for yourself and for your opponents, to like make it fun, to keep the boundaries. You're
Like
not
any
like
game.
intentionally cheating. Like if you're playing a game with the intent to cheat, like kind of makes it less fun, in my opinion.
Right,
Anyway,
right. For everybody.
for everybody, for everybody. Yeah.
So, you have this kind of game element that makes it different from a fight or something, or an argument, a debate. It's this athletic thing. You play by agreed upon set of rules. Throw the ball up so that it goes through the basket.
Yeah. Right. Right. But
Bounce it off the backboard.
you can't do a double throw. You can't throw it from underneath the basket to let it drop down through the basket
Right, right. That's the one you can't do. It's got to
again.
be the other way.
Yes, correct. That's what I've heard.
So
Um,
that's and dribble the ball, and not
right. Yeah, there's
grab people,
all
not hit
right.
people, not
Right.
um,
Yeah.
step into their space that they've claimed already. If they're making a basketball move and you step into their space, then and there's a collision, that's on the person who steps into their space,
Okay.
because there's
Because
sort of a right of way. They're allowed to be trying to shoot the ball. That's the
right.
game.
Right. Right. And they know where they're going to be shooting the ball.
The defender,
It's not going to be like unknown or out of the blue. Like, of course, they're going to be shooting the ball from this specific area. Like, you're going to be more aware
well, there's
in those
trickery
spaces.
from the
There's
offensive player.
acting.
Right, might
Acting!
fake a shot, and so causing a defender to lunge, or make a commitment to move left or right,
Oh, uh huh.
um, in a fake, and then take advantage of that moment and dribble, or maybe shoot, or make a pass or something else. Uh, so if you're trying to put the ball in the basket 1 versus 1, you could fake a shot, your defender could lunge past you, and you could have an easy trip for a layup.
Right. Okay, I understand.
in a driveway somewhere, and you're just playing basketball in a really, really pure, like distilled form,
Yeah.
as opposed to something with referees is the first big, full court versus half court is probably the first major leap. Because you can play a nice game with a bunch of people on a half court,
Right.
you know.
Yeah. And would you call a game of horse a form of basketball?
Yeah, but I don't.
Like it
People
is.
would be confused if you're like, oh, we're going to play basketball, and
Right.
we're just playing horse, maybe.
Oh, okay.
We're going to
Okay.
play basketball. We're going to shoot some Yeah. I
Shoot
mean,
some hoops.
yeah, we're going
So
to shoot some
then you
hoops.
would
We're going
just
to
say
shoot some
shoot some
baskets. Yeah.
hoops, and it could mean
We're going to go
basketball
shoot.
or
Yeah.
horse.
Right. Or just
Okay.
like,
Or whatever other games
well,
there are.
because here's the thing. You're just, I mean, the driveway thing, but it could be at a playground. It could be at a rec center,
Right. Very
YMCA.
community
Alone.
centered
You could be alone.
spaces.
But you could also be alone.
Yeah.
And you're just alone, and you're just throwing the ball up there, and you're practicing shooting, you're hitting shots, you're dribbling
Yeah.
around.
Right.
Oh, let me, try it from this angle. Let me do, use my left hand instead of my right hand.
Yeah.
Um, Things like that. Like, you could practice a move where you jab forward and then jump backwards and shoot,
Yeah.
and so evading imaginary defender. But that's how basketball players practice, right? Like
Okay.
they shoot the ball a bunch of times all the
Yeah,
time,
right, right. From different
for different
spaces.
spaces with different movements.
With different leg work and stuff like
Yes,
that.
all of
Yeah,
that kind of
right,
stuff.
right. They'll be like, okay, what is it like to shoot with my left hand?
Right,
Okay,
right,
what does it look like if I like step like this and step like this and oops, I had to step like this, but I'm gonna shoot anyway.
right. Like while you're dribbling and stuff.
Yeah.
Catching, you catch and shoot. That's if you're someone who's good at the eye-hand coordination of shooting, and you can just hit it from the same spot. Let's say someone was giving you the ball. You have a rack of balls, like in the three-point contest, where you can
Okay.
just from the same spot.
Yoink, yoink.
You can play basketball plays where people set screens and someone passes the ball. You might come around a screen if you're good at shooting, and so someone blocks off the person chasing you, your defender,
Uh-huh.
and it's not like blocking football where you can hit dudes, but if you get to a spot first, you're allowed to establish position, and they need to run around you, or if they run into you, that's a foul on the offensive player
Uh-huh.
or on the defensive player. The
Oh,
defensive
right,
player
right.
is
Yep,
chasing
yep, yep.
someone else.
And they got in
You
their
know,
space.
you're allowed to establish position there. So the defensive players, um, you can kind of screen them off. Someone get open, catch and shoot. From the same spot that you've practiced getting to. Just catch and shoot.
Yeah.
That could be that could be a drill that you're practicing alone on a driveway.
Okay.
And you're playing basketball, kind of. You're shooting hoops. Like you
Yeah.
got a ball and a basket. You know, it's a cool game in that way. Like it's not. I mean, I guess you can toss a ball up for uh, baseball pitching or something. Football, I don't know. You can throw it. You can just run. You can practice doing moves.
Right, right. Yeah, I'm not
Um,
sure. So for the viewers and listeners out there, I never played organized sports on like a serious level. It was more just like in like up until like middle school PE, we would have like, like physical education, like whatever, 2 weeks of doing volleyball or whatever that looked like. And it wasn't like for real, and it was just to like keep people active, and nobody was really invested in any of it. Um, so like I have no idea. I mean, my brother did like soccer, so he would like go to soccer practice and have games, but I never did anything like that ever. I mean, okay, I'll take that back. I did do um like cycling groups. Um and I like trained with people who would race, but I never raced or anything. Um, but like I would ride up a mountain and stuff like that. Ride for like a few hours. I don't know. Anyway, I really enjoyed doing that, but it wasn't really like a sport thing for me. I guess it was just like
It wasn't a game.
it wasn't a game. Right. Yeah. Yeah, thank you for that clarification. Um,
I'm trying to remember the sport that they had at St. John's College. It was search and rescue
what is that?
for like people who get lost hiking in the Santa Fe area. They would like
They
have
would
a van.
practice.
Yeah, yeah, they would practice search and rescue. They would.
It's like this is the square that I'm going to search and rescue from, and
Right.
this is the square that my neighbor's gonna search and rescue from, and we're all spread out like whatever 50 feet apart or something like that.
Yeah, but it
And we
was
gotta
like
thoroughly
in.
scour.
It wouldn't be neighbors. It would be like you'd go to the hiking area.
No, I mean neighbors, as in these are the people that I'm searching and rescuing with.
Okay,
And
yeah.
we're
I
like
never did
spread
it.
out in different coordinates or whatever and like
Right.
moving in the same direction. And
Yes.
yes,
And they
no,
would
that's what
practice
I'm
that.
referring to.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting.
But that's not a game. It's still a sport.
Yeah.
You're like hiking
I
and
don't know
stuff.
if it's
Hiking's a
even a
sport.
sport.
Walking
'Cause,
a
like,
dog is a sport, maybe?
anyway, so I'm gonna change the subject now.
Horse racing?
No.
It's horse racing is cool. I don't know. I like animals, and so it's like cool to see like, oh look, animals. But like, actually, the whole thing seems cool and bad. Talk about something else.
Like what?
You just said you were gonna talk about something else.
But you wanted to talk about horse racing.
I'm done. I think the listeners would like to know what you were gonna say.
I don't know. I don't hear any feedback, so.
Okay. Well, choosing what I want to hear versus framing things the way I want to frame them.
And that's why I was going to change the subject. But anyway, now that I'm really going to change the subject, thank you for listening!